Welcome to the Brain Software Podcast. This is episode 226, coming at you from the Hypnotic World Epicenter, Toronto, Canada. I'm Chris Thompson, and today, NLP and hypnosis trainer Mike Mandel and I are going to have a ridiculously good time and laugh, and we're going to be talking about another list of things that irritate us, but in a really good sort of way, because we're going to turn it into some fun and some good, useful discussion. So stay tuned, and here's your disclaimer.
Disclaimer. Virtually everything in this podcast is annoying to each of us and often to both of us. We hope you feel the same way. And in the immortal words of Spike Jones, Lucci.
Hey, Scroll, what's going down, Bag? I'm just zipping around the 42nd dimension, dude, and it's awesome, man. I mean, there's a 7-Eleven store for the blue raspberry slushy, and even some cannabis stores up here. Can you dig it? This far-out pouch. I've always wanted to say, death to Videodrome! Long live the new flesh! But whatever happened to Kenny when he found that book Daisy hidden in the secret panel under the dresser in Farmer's bedroom, man? And more than that, take it away, Uncle Bud. Yes, thank you, Dr. Ambrose. I'd like to add, what the bloody hell ever occurred in the recent or distant past that did its utmost to obscure our search for that long-forgotten tranquility we used to know and love dearly?
So welcome to the Hypnotic Subaru dealership, a man who'd love to retire in Meaford, Ontario. The man who rides the very crest of the hypnotic dinosaur and the official Keith Richards of Hypnosis.
That's official.
Mike Mandel.
And let's add to that, these are days of victory. We never got to the part. It's all right.
Oh, man. There's so much of that we have to add.
Take it away, man. The banter and promotion, because we want to talk about Emerson for a minute, too.
Yeah, okay. We are just on fire with awesome guest trainers coming into the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. So I'm going to say this man here, years ago, started talking about ego states / resource states, parts in the NLP model of the world. And he has become a very big fan of Dr. Gordon Emmerson, right? Who originally was from Montana, I believe.
I believe so,
and
too.
now lives in Australia near Melbourne, which is really cool. And for years, Mike's been talking about Emerson's work. It's phenomenal. And Mike has been saying, in change work, it's often an ego state issue. And then it's almost always an ego state issue. And then more recently, it's always an ego state issue.
Correct.
He said, we've got to get Gordon Emmerson as a guest trainer for the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. And just for those of you who don't know, we do these about once a month. We bring in a guest trainer, and they talk for about an hour. And we do some fireside chat and some Q&A. It's a lot of fun. We get a broad, diverse set of trainers in so that you're learning more than just general hypnosis skills that we teach and our stuff, but you're learning from the best in the world. So and this guy got Gordon Emmerson to show up and spend an hour with us. And it was phenomenal. The recording is in the MMHA right now. So if you join today, join the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. You get Gordon Emerson, you get all the other guest trainers
Igor
that we brought
Ledochowski, Melissa
Carl
Tears,
Smith, Melissa Tears, Jason Lynette,
the Jacquins,
Ken Gutso, Freddie Jacquin, Anthony Jacquin.
Yep.
I mean, you name Michael C. Anthony, all these
Steve
awesome
Rame.
people.
Yep.
Yeah, and we just keep adding. So join the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy.
Join today.
And the other promotion we're going to do is not about us. It's about Scott Sandlin and Stephanie Skiba and HynoThoughts Live.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time we publish this, it should be what, Mike? April 21st, right? There we go.
I'm not sure. We sort of, because you
Something
went away
like
on
that.
holiday, it sort of got screwed up a bit as to when. We don't care.
The schedule hasn't changed. It should be April by the time this is live, which means it's almost your birthday.
Yeah, man. Next
so
month.
that's awesome.
Next month.
And which means whiskey.
It does.
Yeah, there you go.
Now let's talk about Gordon Emmerson for a minute, because one of the things he said that to me was just a bucket of cold water in the face was he talked about ego states as a new unconscious model, and I have adopted this now because we used to say the usual things as Ericksonians primarily, and your unconscious mind can generate what you need to, and generally you get a pretty good result with that kind of thing. But Emmerson said, which unconscious mind?
Which state?
Which ego state that's asleep are you drawing from? And that has changed everything to me.
I really like that model because he explains that there are what he calls the conscious state or the executive.
Right.
So when we say an ego state is in the executive, it's the one driving the bus right now.
Right.
That's also, he just prefers to call it conscious because it's a better term perhaps for the general public.
The totality of for the public,
executive.
Right. Remember,
and then you
also
have surface states, which
the
are the
pictures.
ones aware of the executive conscious state. And then you have the underlying, under the water.
But you got to say, say
hidden.
the three pictures he used. I think that was excellent.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Remember, the first one was the person on top of the water in a boat. So that's the one that's conscious or executive. The second one was people swimming.
Yes.
And these are the semi-conscious states that can zip below the surface and can be aware. And then there's the deep ones that are underwater doing scuba.
Like the scuba divers.
You can only get to them through hypnosis.
And they are not aware. Exactly. And it was very cool. We're just going to leave it at that. You've got to check out.
Emerson's amazing.
Emerson's work is fantastic. We loved having him, and it's in the Academy. But yeah, back to HynoThoughts Live. So it's April when this podcast is going live, which means May, June, July, 3 months till we're in Las Vegas. It's the best hypnosis conference in the world. It's the biggest.
And it's at a brand new location, the Sahara, which is all renovated and beautiful, and it's on the Strip with a monorail and a bar, maybe more than one.
We love hanging out with everybody. Every year we go and we meet people who have been our students or who become our students.
Doing a session.
Yeah, I'm doing a session. You're doing a session. Timothy's doing a session. It's going to be fantastic. So come to HynoThoughts Live, htlive.net.
The most inclusive hypnosis
You always
conference
interrupt me
in
when I'm
the
doing
world.
a URL.
I know. Try it again. I'll see if I can get through it.
htlive.net.
Oh, close. All right, so let's get on with this. We have think tank words, buddy.
Okay.
Can you explain the concept of think tank words for the new
Yes,
listeners?
so think tank words are simply randomly chosen words which we endeavor to, at first, explain what they mean to us very briefly, and then work them in unconsciously, just see how they work themselves into the content of the discussion. I like how you use the red flag as a napkin there. And for those of you listening audio only, I know you're missing out on some of this hilarity, but that's fine. You can check out the YouTube video later. So we're going to go with the think tank words. We're going to explain what they mean to us very quickly, and then we're going to see how they slot into the content of pet peeves, things that irritate us. All right, so what are the words?
Very well
All
done.
right. The first one.
The first one is, and these are actually from Sava Bukacek's think tank. The first one is champion.
Champion.
The second is excursion.
And the third
not exclusion.
is...
The third is forgiveness.
Excursion, also not exusion.
Forgiveness, not exudation.
All right.
Okay, so start me off with champion.
Well, champion, I think three quick things come to mind. Champion is a brand of clothing. Champion is the winner of a contest and also someone who champions someone else. And I like that one best. I'll go with that.
That's a good one.
Who is your champion, right? Can you be your own champion? Can you champion someone else's awesome success in life?
I know your champion is Bono, but that's so freaking obvious. Notice I'm wearing the hat, the beanie. Scary thing, I was the edge.
You
just
are.
supporting you two indirectly.
Yes.
Now, look, the champion one is an annoying one for me. And when this popped up in the think tank, it immediately fired a memory.
What's the pet peeve?
Because our brains are, it is people that give their kids stupid names.
Oh, yeah.
I was in Calgary Airport. They were doing some construction a number of years ago. I went into the W.H. Smith bookstore.
Yeah.
And there was a woman there with a very young boy. He must have been 4. And he was into everything. And she kept yelling at him. She'd go, champion, stop touching it. Champion, 1, 2, 3. And he'd stop. And then, champion, don't do that. Champion, no. 1, 2, 3. All she's teaching him is that there's
nothing
I don't
happens.
mean it until I count to 3, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The kid's name was Champion.
Actual name?
His actual name.
Okay.
You touched my hand there. That was weird.
I did.
But it was
weird.
a slide.
Yeah.
But champion. If you called your kid champion, if you are that person, I can.
It's weird.
It's weird. It's nice
weird.
that you're trying to lift the kid up, but
you're going to create a situation where people are going to make fun of him in school.
what if he's a? What if the label doesn't hit and he's like a complete...
Well, yeah. Good point. All right.
Okay, so the next one, excursion.
Excursion is not exusion, which is a funnier word.
We've already said that, champion. 1, 2, 3.
Excursion.
Okay, so moving on.
I think of excursion as school, a classroom from school.
Okay,
You're going on a field trip.
Oh, that's very English.
Thing.
We can't go in. We've got an excursion this afternoon.
Yeah, excursion. That's what it means to me. Is like a group of kids all going on a trip to learn something. So
did you ever go on one of those in school?
Yeah, I'm sure I have.
You don't remember those, so
like
obviously
the science museums and the...
Buddy, we went on one. We went up in a plane, and we went to... scary thing, I was a politician. We went to Kingston and had these box lunches, but we were on a Grey Coach bus, and a colonial bus, and a guy had his guitar case, and we were teaching people how to shoot craps. So we had a crap game in the back of the bus. They kept trying to close it down. I think I was 12.
That's funny.
Paid about $8.
So that's excursion.
Excursion.
Let's go to
Forgiveness.
forgiveness. Forgiveness is the only one that I'm
That you can't
actually
do.
able to be serious about right now. I do think, when I think about forgiveness, I think about years ago when we started this podcast, and at some point you brought up the idea that forgiveness is letting someone off the hook and then realizing that someone is you.
Right. Unforgiveness is drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Yeah.
And the idea being that forgiveness, if something bad happens, you can forgive without repeating the same stupid action.
Well, yeah, my friend Dave Wood put it great years ago about, some people think when you forgive someone, you got to keep hanging out with them. Well, not if they're toxic.
Yeah, you don't get back in the
That's it.
cage with the tiger.
Yeah,
after
he said a
you're
tiger
mauled.
can maul you.
Yeah.
He said you can forgive the tiger, but you don't get back in the
Yeah,
cage.
you don't get back in the cage because that's just dumb, right? So remember that. And I
Yeah,
think
but forgiveness is a choice. The feelings come later. It's a choice. It's a decision.
So when it comes to some of these pet peeves, we can forgive people.
I forgive you for saying that. So, okay, let's get on to these
All right.
damnable pet
All
peeves
right, we're
because
gonna
this
have some
list
fun
really
with this.
bothers me. Talk
Yeah.
about the cake. 'Cause You've been mentioning this for 2 freaking days.
Okay, this one came to me last night because my daughter just turned 16, and so we celebrated with an ice cream cake, which she loves. It's her favorite. And as my wife is pulling the cake out of the freezer and putting it on the counter,
as you do,
I picked up my phone and on Voxer, which is the walkie-talkie app that Mike and I use, and I said, "Mike, I just thought of another pet peeve," and this hadn't happened yet, but it did moments later. A pet peeve of mine is when somebody is taking a circular food object, pizza is usually cut for you and right down the center, but a pie, a cake, something of that nature, and the first slice gets crafted.
Yeah.
And it's nowhere near the center of the circle.
Because they're not beginning by doing a diameter cut.
Yeah,
I mean,
thinking symmetrically.
Right through the center first.
So by nature, you get with this...
Either a giant one or a stupid little dicky one.
And it's never the giant one. It's always the
dicky one.
The stupid
little dicky one. Yeah.
So I laugh and I always go and correct it on the second slice, right?
Yeah.
Which is like surgery.
You bring out a protractor. Yeah.
Anyway, so I box you when I say, I just can't stand it when people don't cut anywhere near the center of a cake or a pie or whatever.
Yeah, or cheese,
I put my phone down, I walk over, and I see... It's just this horrendous.
You sent me a picture of it.
I sent you a photo.
This is how empty the man's life is. He sends me a photograph of a piece of cake that wasn't cut properly.
No, not a piece of cake. The cake with the piece missing.
With this piece missing, yes.
Anyway, I find that hilarious.
I
but
find
it's
it
something
just
to
bizarre.
laugh at, right? It's a good reminder. We're going to always bring this back to some value. It's a good reminder that sometimes just dumb things are not worth. They're not worth fighting over or anything.
Or
like
talking
that.
about the podcast.
They're just good jokes.
The other one is: do you know how to cut a pizza or cake into 5 equal pieces?
Into 5?
Yeah, it's a trick to it.
No, I haven't thought about it.
You make a large letter Y,
Okay.
and then you bifurcate the other 2 sections, and it works pretty well 5.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's nice.
Oh,
Isn't it?
it's
Yeah.
raw. Yeah, it's
Geometry.
raw. Yeah, there you go.
Useless at algebra, good at
You
geometry,
grab your
though.
protractor and divide
Get your
360
chiropractor
degrees
up, measure
by
that
5.
angle.
Yeah.
Or you son. Okay, so you got a sparkle on the side of your nose. What
Oh.
the heck have you? You're crying.
Oh, yeah, I did. I cried.
He's weeping.
I cried when I was talking about the cake thing.
How can you not be having a breakdown?
So funny. Thinking about it, and then it actually happens right then and there. In
You
front of me.
sounded like MCA. I told him this morning. I said we'd laugh listening to his voxes. I said his voice would go up 15 octaves. I mean, it's the funniest thing you see.
Oh yeah, Michael C. Anthony's been voxing us this ridiculously funny stuff to him,
Right.
But over a period of about 4 hours,
It's like 15 minutes of voxes we're listening to.
He's sitting out in his yard and just imagining these hilarious things, and 4 hours later he's still voxing us on the same joke, but he's refined it,
And he's gone higher up.
The registry.
Why is this funny? Hilarious.
I remember last summer he had one. We were not going into detail on what, but I listened to it the next morning. 17 minutes of voxes.
I know.
And I just about lost it. It was such a good ab workout listening to him.
He's a funny guy.
Refine the joke with more and more hilarity. Anyway, let's get on to actual things that bug us.
Okay, you've said the cake. Here's one that bugs me. People who borrow stuff and don't return it.
Oh.
Now, I started a while back. Someone borrows something, I make them hold it. I take a picture of them holding it because I don't know. There's a guy who used to borrow from me all the time. He really pissed me off. He was a 7 and lived in my apartment building. And he borrowed, I had a brand new ski suit back when I used to attempt to ski.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, can I borrow that ski suit of yours? It's
Sure,
brand new.
okay,
Of course. And he takes it, and 2 weeks later, never got it back. So I call him and say, can I have the ski suit back? He says, oh yeah, come on up and get it. So now first I had to deliver it to him.
Yeah, now you have
I've
to
got to go and get
and
it.
claim it.
And he said, oh, it's in that cupboard somewhere. And he's not even looking up from what he's doing. I hunt in the cupboard, and it's got a big rip in the side. And here's his response. Oh, I don't know how that happened.
Dick.
Okay, Dick. But when people borrow stuff, if apart from getting wrecked, when people just treat things as the fact that they have it, it's ownership now. It's you lend it to me, but I've had it so long that
It's
I might as well
mine.
just keep it.
They say possession is 9/10 of the law, right?
You know who said
there
that?
You go. Let me guess.
The
Matt
Exorcist.
Lachey? No.
The Exorcist. All right.
I got to tell this story really quickly.
Not
it's so
Matt
funny.
Lachey.
All right.
Don't tell the Matt Lachey story.
Okay, I won't
That's
tell
on
it.
my list.
I won't. Oh, is it?
Yeah,
All
people
right,
who
that's
talk
funny.
about Matt Lachey.
Okay, yeah, that's funny.
No, I'm kidding.
It was just a hilarious joke. When we were in Florida, we were driving around looking
He's
at
gonna
the
tell
wreckage.
it.
We were looking. I'll tell it quickly. We were looking at the wreckage from the hurricane in Southwest Florida area, and so my in-laws said, "We'll drive you around Matt Lachey," which I thought
Near
was
Fort
the name.
Myers?
Yeah, and I thought this was the name of like a construction company. You know, the Matt Lachey residential building.
Right, right.
Like maybe the hurricane whipped through there particularly nasty and took it apart. Well, it turns out it's actually just the way they pronounce an area that's spelled Matlacha, and it looks like it should be pronounced Matlacha or something.
Yeah,
right?
it looks like it
but
to
it's
me.
pronounced Matt Lachey, and we thought it was hilarious because it sounded like someone's actual name. So I turned this into a joke the whole week, which my daughter picked up on it and then got me with several times. I would always ask a question that would result in the response, who? Like, oh, do you know who recommended that restaurant? They go, oh, no, who? I go, Matt Lachey. And I did this over and over. And at first they was like, that's not funny. Well, then they all start doing it back to me, obviously, which is an admission that it's funny.
Right.
So
and I think now it's gone to the point of not being funny again.
Okay, there you go.
So here we go.
So Matt
what
Lachey.
about people who... do you know who we should have mentioned that to?
Matt Lachey.
Matt Lachey. People who borrow stuff without permission. We're back to the borrowing.
Oh, yeah, I borrowed it.
I hate
yeah.
this.
You go into your office, take something. Where's
I
this?
get stuff
I
missing.
borrowed it.
I get stuff missing from my house.
Yeah.
I mean, serious books and things that somebody's borrowed and never even told me they borrowed them. My brother-in-law, years ago, my former brother-in-law, he would just come over back when we used records. 33 minutes
and borrow it.
I wouldn't be there, and
it.
he'd go through them. And he'd take like about 8 and just take them home with him.
Yeah.
Home with him.
Okay, so this is now. Let's talk about the value
See the
of this.
anger.
So let's say somebody borrows something with permission and isn't careful with it,
Yeah.
and you get it back and it's damaged, or they borrow it without permission in the first place, which I think other people would call stealing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
So now, you remember the reframe? Isn't this good in a
weird kind of way? Yeah.
Well, it is good in a weird kind of way because it's a low intensity or a low investment, low risk activity to find out the quality of someone else, right? So if the guy borrows your freaking ski suit and puts a rip in it, I don't know what happened. Well, the next time, like he wants to borrow your car to go pick up his girlfriend at the airport, what are you going to say? Obviously, well, the ski suit thing worked out so well. Yeah, here are the keys.
Yeah, no, here's what I'd be saying. Oh, yeah, sure, here's the keys. You come and get it and just leave it in your freaking storage box. And when I've forgotten I don't have a car, I'll come back and get it with the rip in it. Yeah. So doesn't make sense.
So
but you know what I mean?
It's like a low risk investment, right? It's like if you're going to hire somebody
investment.
or a low risk mistake. It's similar in business. If you're going to hire somebody, a good idea is to give them a little paid project, or like if a freelancer wants to come on full time with your company or something, you give them a small. Here, I'll throw you $50, $100, do some small little thing. And if it works out great, fantastic. Maybe I'll do another project or just hire you right away. But rather than make the big commitment and make a big mistake, right? So just think about that. There you go.
That's very good. Now let's talk about value. Word whiskers drive me nuts.
So I was thinking,
here's some value for you.
Like
you want to be a better speaker? Get rid of freaking word whiskers, right? Get rid of them, right? Okay, right? Okay, if you're Canadian, he's there, and we got out the door, and we're looking at him, I mean, it drives me crazy. But right really bothers me a lot. I don't like, So he's like sitting there, and they're like talking, and they're like sitting on the floor, and they're like watching TV. Is it like that, or is it that?
Do you ever want to go like?
No, I haven't, but that's a good point.
Talk about that intervention.
That's here. The intervention I use, you can't do it with some people, but this comes from high school. Mm-hmm. We got it from Catcher in the Rye, the book. And the teacher would make us do this in English class. Right. Somebody would go up and have to make a speech. And if they used the word whisker Or if they lost track of the story and started Ken Sweatmaning.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to talk about, we bought a new cottage last year, whatever they picked. So you bought a new cottage. Well, it's not really new. It was built in around. Right away, they go off topic. Everybody yells, digression.
Oh,
and you get really timid
digression.
kids at the front and you're screaming digression at them every sentence. It
Yeah.
really throws people off.
It can be fun, though.
It can. But you can use the variant on it with word whiskers. So they're right, and you just yell it back. Right.
Right.
Okay, so we're sitting there, right?
Right.
It stops it really
I
quickly.
love that one.
Okay. What do I hear? You can take the next one.
I do want to mention when it comes to word whiskers, one of the things, actually, I don't have any near me right now, but the
Right.
hypnotic language cards, right? Ericksonian hypnotic language, our Nuvi course, is a great example of how you can learn a lot of this stuff. And the thing that worked well for me, because I, like so many people, had word whiskers.
Yeah.
And I would and ah, and if I was giving a presentation, if you get comfortable with the idea that your unconscious mind can generate language essentially flawlessly, then you can eliminate word whiskers. And you can stay engaged and congruent. Use the Mandel triangle: congruence, confidence, and conviction, or intention, as we say at the base of the
Yeah, man.
pyramid. It's a triangle. I almost said pyramid. When you slow down, and especially if you practice Ericksonian hypnotic language, you will become a better communicator, and those word whiskers will disappear for the most part. Now, if I am in a different ego state, and I'm thinking, and there's a lot going on, and I'm rapid firing, and I'm trying really hard to keep up with what's going on, and then I'll be like, and then they'll come back. So when you slow down and you get into that right ego state, thank you, Gordon Emmerson, word whiskers tend to disappear. It's amazing.
Very well done.
There you go.
Very well done. Very well said. Very good. Very strong.
Very strong. Very
okay,
strong.
you can take the next one too because it's a classic.
Hypnotists who say critical factor. We
Drives me
actually, okay, very good friend of ours, stopped doing it now. But we used to.
It's
we
not
used
a
to
good thing.
pick on
Remember,
them.
it is a faculty. It is not a factor. You don't have to sound like a freaking idiot if you're a hypnotist.
What is the critical faculty, Mike, in
critical
hypnosis?
faculty in hypnosis
It's a model.
is an assumed model of part of the mind that is acting as the doorman in a bar and stopping people coming in and going. Well, they can go out, I guess, but stopping people coming in. The idea is that it is a filter. It's making making sure. That was totally weird. That could be a really weird word whisker, couldn't it? Or they
We call it the Shania Twain response.
She sings too, apparently.
Yeah. So critical factor, critical faculty.
It is a
say
faculty.
correctly.
It's not a factor.
It's a model. It's a model of this permeability and how you stop suggestions from getting into the unconscious. But in hypnosis, or when there is a powerful emotional state occupying someone's attention, that critical faculty becomes more permeable, sort of like the barman at the doorman at the bar, I should say.
barman.
The barman
So it's about
at the
the
door.
bloody bar
The
with the
barman at the
people.
door giving you whiskey
You
on the
damn
way
people.
in.
Whiskey again, second reference. Listen,
go.
since we're on what stupid hypnotists do, and we are bridge builders, we don't name any of these morons, but
There are some bad people in any profession.
In any profession. And in our
just like
profession,
hypnosis,
there's some
but
really weird ones.
Thankfully, there's some really good
but
ones,
we've got
too.
so many great people
Yeah.
in this, and we've mentioned a lot of them already. But hypnotists who, in their promo shots, look like frickin' kung fu fighters.
We model this as a
I
joke in our
can't
We Believe
stand that.
video on YouTube.
It's the Ravine Martin St. James thing where there's the stern and the freaking eyebrows. I know it worked for both of them. They were both hyper direct. You know, I think Martin St. James used to leap over the chairs or something, which begs the question, why? But, you know, these guys are no longer with us, and I'm not trashing the dead. They were both very good at what they did.
It's one
but
thing when
that
it's done for
portrayal.
entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing when it's done for entertainment.
Yeah.
When you're a therapeutic hypnotist.
Yeah. And your
And you're
pictures are
positioning
like,
yourself like you've got these magic rays coming out of your hands
Or
and
your eyes.
or
Yeah.
whatever the case is. It's just weird, and it makes hypnosis seem less professional.
dickish. Yeah,
Okay.
it does. So what about, here's one I can't stand. People who whisper to send a stronger message. When I did my graphoanalysis training and I went to the Institute, spent a week in Chicago studying, at the end of my training, I'd done a year and a half on it and then went down there to top it up. The keynote speaker was a dentist, and he was so poor. It was, first of all, his metaphors made no sense. But when he wanted to make a point, he'd get quieter and quieter.
That's so
I
weird.
want to yell, get louder, you dick. We can't hear. You don't get quieter to make a point. And this was in Breaking Bad. And to me, that's the only thing that stopped Breaking Bad from being a 10 out of 10. I loved it.
Who did that?
I gave it 9 out of 10 because Skylar and Marie whisper all the way through it.
Oh, yes.
Marie never stops whispering. Just Google it. Why did Marie whisper on Breaking Bad?
Yes. Yes, she's the wife of the DEA agent.
The cop. Yeah.
What is his name? I can't remember his name.
Whisper woman. You think the director would go, take it up a notch?
Yeah.
Can't hear you?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We had a guy in my NLP training, my first NLP training, with Georgian Bay NLP, Chris
Right.
Dunkley and Deanna Sager, when I was studying. Gary Fu was in the class.
Right,
David
right,
Murphy,
right.
Dr. Murphy.
Oh, yeah,
In
yeah.
the same class. And there was a guy in the class, God bless him, 30 people in the room. His name was John. Hotel room, carpets, everything soaking up the sound. And he'd talk like this. And Chris Dunkley would say, John, you're speaking to 30 people. You've got to take the volume up. And he'd go, oh.
Do you
He'd
think
do it exactly the
Do
same.
you think there's a sense that
Of insanity?
some people
Yes.
believe that if you're doing therapy, and NLP can obviously be used therapeutically, I can help you overcome this problem, that problem, etc. Do you think there's a sense that some people believe they need to do therapy quietly?
I think so. And Heather's pointed out this thing. It happened. I had a Bible study at my house years ago with people from all different churches. And we hung out together. It was a great group. But when I wasn't there were a couple of guys who were very, very quiet. And if they read it, if they did the teaching when I wasn't there, Heather said it was like they thought quietness equals holiness. They'd get very soft and very soothing, very kinesthetic, and let their voices kick in. She said she wanted to blind them by the end of the evening.
If you think about it, think about how insane it is.
This was just infinite. Everything
what is
bothers
it
me.
they say? Laughter is the best
Medicine. Yeah.
Well, if laughter is therapy, imagine laughing quietly.
Okay,
so
do me a
insane.
favor. Don't ever
Never
do that. Don't
again.
ever do that
I'm
again.
just
And if any of your
laughing.
guys aren't watching it, you need to see that because it was just so horribly offensive in a way I can't even define. Okay, so people whisper to send a stronger message. What about unnecessary capitalization?
Oh, this is
You deal with our customers.
You pointed out this flaw in writing. It's really in a sense, it's a flaw in personality.
It is. It's
I
a
just
deep,
did. See,
deep
there you
flaw.
go. Okay.
Digression.
Unnecessary capitalization is when someone is writing, usually these days it's typing.
Yeah.
And they capitalize words that shouldn't be capitalized
Yeah.
in the middle of a sentence. So I went to the store, capital S, and usually it's not words like that, though. It's usually words that have something to do with them because it's unnecessary capitalization in graphology is wanting to be seen as important without having earned it.
Absolutely
right?
correct. And it's one of the few traits that shows up even on a computer with type.
So somebody might say, even though I don't have a degree, and they might put capital D for degree, or with that's probably even more important, my degree in business. They capitalize degree. It's like, because it's super important. And
it's like Gary Fu used to write stuff, and I'm always on his case about this.
Yeah.
He'd say, his own company now, company capitalized, and used to work for the police, capital T, capital P. No, capital T as well, the police.
Yeah.
I said, why are you capitalizing? Well,
It's not the band.
It's
Yeah.
not important. And the other thing is, let's get to unnecessary quotation marks.
Oh, yeah.
The bane of my existence. I said McMaster Medical Center. I spoke there because they were blending 4 medical centers. They brought me in to relieve stress and that, because I do that stuff, or did when I was younger, 3 years ago. I got there, and in the driveway of McMaster University Medical Center, it says no parking
In this area, with air quotes,
so-called
area.
What people don't understand is quotation marks don't make something stand out as important. They are
They're
only
not for
used for one
emphasis.
purpose.
Yeah.
Quoting somebody.
Yes.
And it drives me nuts when people say, well, I turned to him and I said, and they put their own thing. You can't quote yourself. You cannot quote yourself. You are yourself. Okay, whoever quotes himself, I don't even know who you are.
I guess you
okay, you
can
got this
quote
coming.
yourself.
I'm going to give him a Dick chant. Dick. Dick. Don't quote yourself. You cannot quote yourself in quotation marks.
Can you not say, I showed up and I said to the crowd, comma, open quotes,
No,
whatever?
it's not necessary. It would be, I told the crowd.
Okay, I told the crowd. All right, that's fine. I'll accept that.
Yeah. And remember, we got one email, and the guy had quoted almost every line. There were quotation marks. If I was to take a training with you guys and was to travel to Toronto,
get
remember
a
that?
certification.
Yeah. In your style of hypnosis.
And you're thinking,
why did you quote?
You know what?
Who are you quoting?
The class is full.
Yeah,
Don't show up.
I just have to write back and say, who are you quoting?
Yeah.
At least quote. Okay.
I remember the first time we went to Las Vegas for HynoThoughts Live, htlive.net. Notice Mike didn't interrupt me. He's learning. It's amazing. We went there. We're hanging out by the pool, and there was the ramp for the wheelchair ramp, and it said there was a sign that was something to the effect of no loitering on this ramp.
Shut up. I don't remember that
I took
one.
a picture of it. It's on my iPhone somewhere here. But it's so funny. It makes me laugh.
So-called ramp.
Yeah, the unnecessary quotes. Quotes are for quoting people. Yeah, and unnecessary capitalization.
Okay, let's talk about chronic
It's
complainers.
horrible. Okay.
You know, it's that
We're
thing.
complaining.
I love that line. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
Yeah.
I think that is really,
that's
really
a good
wisdom.
one.
And it was Chuck Swindoll out of the U.S. said that it became a meme. And it's really true. Everybody has X number of hours in the day to spend doing what you want to do and what you have to do. It's incumbent upon us, since we have a limited lifespan, to have the best life we can. Not only to live well, but to help other people live well. And that's one of our mandates, is to have great lives with other people and let them do really well. But when people endlessly complain and catastrophize, it drives me freaking crazy. It's
Which we're doing right now.
well, yes, but we're complaining about
We
people who
admit it.
complain. So there's a wonderful meta position to all this.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? My friend,
With laughter, it's okay.
we're a bunch of us were, let's go and see that movie Twister when it first came out. And one of the people there, I won't say what the gender was or if the person had a gender, said, well, what's the point? It'll probably be no parking when we get there anyway.
You told me that story
And I
before,
said,
yeah.
Are you out of your freaking mind?
What's the point?
No, let's go to this new Chinese
catastrophizing.
restaurant. Oh, what's the point? We'll probably all get food poisoning.
You
Just
know-
looking in every silver lining, there's a cloud. In every apple, there's a freaking worm. I hate it.
It's similar. This reminds me of a callback to last
Yes,
episode when we
clever.
talked about people who are constantly blaming others. If you're not blaming others, but you're blaming the environment, the greater totality of the world, oh, there won't be any parking. It's blaming. You won't have a good time because the world is conspiring against
Oh, yeah,
you.
yeah.
It's overly negative. Yeah.
I totally agree. What about people who aren't, this is my wife's, aren't honest enough to say they disagree with you?
Oh,
so
I
she'll be
just see
having
that, yeah.
discussion for hours and then find out days later, well, I didn't agree with anything you said. Well, why didn't you tell me so we weren't talking about something that
Yeah.
you didn't want to hear about?
I think there's a power in respectful disagreement. Respectfully disagreeing
I
with
do
someone.
not agree at all.
Saying that you don't share someone's opinion doesn't mean you think
fine.
they're a dick.
Although
or
very often that is the case.
it could be.
Yeah,
Could
very
be.
often.
I mean,
probably always.
because if they don't agree with us, then clearly, well, it's fine if people
Yeah.
don't agree with you. I mean, there's a word whisker. I mean, no, but I do actually mean
Yes.
that. Let's say these heated arguments, discussing politics. Someone might not agree with someone else. But that's fine. I know plenty of people who don't share the same views that I have on, let's say, how the country should be run. But I don't think they're
necessarily dicks. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Well,
So-
that's interesting. Now, let's talk about a really horrible one here. Lack of personal hygiene. This is absolutely
Jiu-jitsu
unacceptable in
class
Western
and the
society.
BO and the stinky feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu class. I had to send one guy home because his personal hygiene was so bad. So you're not inflicting that on us. There's no reason for it in today's society. But, you know, when I was in high school, the two guys sat next to each other in physics class. We'll call them Rob and Frank.
Only because that was
their
their
actual
actual
names.
names.
Yeah. And these are two guys who both thought let's get into the quotes. We don't need deodorant.
Oh,
they thought
right.
they didn't, and they were both really stinky.
See, some people genuinely don't. We know some people who just don't seem to smell. Okay, wonderful.
I don't
but
know
if
anybody
you
who-
do smell, wear freaking deodorant.
Well, yeah. It drives me crazy. There's no reason for that. I've got a friend. He told me recently, well, within the last couple of years, he said he didn't think shampoo was necessary or deodorant or soap.
Wow.
You just get in the shower and just rub yourself with water in a cloth.
Rub yourself with water.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, gee, wonder if he's an Enneagram 5. Oh, yeah, he is.
Oh,
You know, out of touch
I
the physical
know
body.
Exactly who you mean.
And penury, back to penury. I'm afraid of not having enough. I better not spend money on personal hygiene. Hey, if it's that much of an issue, I'll buy your freaking deodorant for you, but don't inflict it on me.
Yes. Speaking of which, there is
we
another
are.
pet peeve that we have to get to that
Okay.
isn't on the list, but you
We'll
know
get
what
there.
I'm talking
No, I
about. We'll
don't.
get back to it.
I don't.
Oh, you've got to put this in your car.
Oh,
You want to do that one
yeah,
now?
let's do it.
All right.
So I get a very good friend. I'm not going to say his name. He just hands me this bottle of stuff. He says, put this in the oil receptacle of your car, rev the car up to 1,500 RPMs for 2 minutes, then go for about an hour-long drive. And it'll fix your cylinders. It'll do this.
It'll improve your efficiency,
mileage,
your
fuel
efficiency.
efficiency, your emissions, everything. I said, I'm not putting it in my car.
Where have we heard this before?
Why
Mike?
won't you do that? Why won't you? And he went on and on. And I said, no, years ago I was told to put Slick 50 in my car. I did it. Michael C. Anthony told me to.
He fooled you.
A month later, my Volvo engine seized up. The rad cracked, and it cost $5,000 to fix it. I said, I'm not putting this in. And I'm not saying his name was Ryan, but I said, I'm not putting this in, Ryan. And he said, well, what about emission in this? I said, China is putting so much emission into the atmosphere. This is not going to make any difference to the world. And he's not giving up. He's tried like 3 emails.
He's using appeal to emotion.
Yeah.
To guilt you into putting this on. You don't even know what it is. He's asking you to pour this stuff into your car.
He's just saying, trust me.
Trust me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to prove anything to you. And then he wouldn't let it go. And then what did you tell me today? You found out?
Oh, he owns shares in the company.
Oh, there you go.
Isn't that interesting?
So I'm setting up the camera, and Mike says, and I go, he's conflicted. He has a conflict of interest. He's conflict of interest, boy.
Yeah, and that is correct. It was funnier when Chris said it the first time.
We realized it sounds like Homer Simpson.
Sort of.
He's conflict of interest, boy.
Maybe we say it a few more times.
There we go.
So anyway, but the bottom line is I phoned Subaru, and I said, my friend's trying, and the service department said, I would not put that in your car. No further questions, Ron. Okay,
we're getting down to the wire here, so
what
we're
about
going to have to
people who phone?
wrap up.
No, we're not. What about people who phone late at night?
That doesn't happen to me anymore.
When there's
Ever
no
since,
reason.
In the olden days of before iPhones and stuff like that. What are you doing?
I don't know, I dropped something. I can hear it.
It's not important.
It is to me.
It's unimportant. It's completely unimportant.
Fine, go ahead. Before iPhones, what?
I have no idea. Oh, your chapstick. He dropped the chapstick.
Yeah,
all right, there we go. Before iPhones, back when we had regular landlines, it would be annoying if someone would call you past whatever would be your bedtime. Now, obviously, this changes when you're a teenager. You don't care if someone calls you at midnight. Well, I had my own phone line in my own bedroom when I lived with my parents, so it's fine. But if you're, I guess, reasonably adultish, and let's say you're in bed at 10 o'clock or whatever normal time is for you, and someone calls you at 10 o'clock, it just pisses you off.
It does. Now, that's exactly the point. I don't want to say it was Ryan, but Ryan started phoning me late, like years ago, like phone at 10 to 11. I said, Ryan, my wife's in bed. We don't have the phone ring. She goes to bed at 10. So I said, look, Ryan, the later in the evening you call, the worst. I said, just never call after 10 o'clock unless it's a frickin' medical emergency.
So 9:55 every night.
9:55, not every night, but 9:58. I got in under the wire. It's like, well, yeah, but it's not, a call as much as you want right up to that second. It's notice that the evening is getting later.
Incrementally approaching the irritation. Right?
Brilliant.
It's not like a restaurant closes at this hour, and if you walk in before then, that's fine. The kitchen closes at such and such an hour. We will serve you up until, because someone's being paid. That's their job, to serve you up until closing time. All right. Well, no, it doesn't work that way with the telephone. Closing time, it's incrementally, I'm going towards chilling into the evening.
Yes.
I don't want you calling me.
Got it.
Especially when there is text messaging and email, you don't have to phone.
That's it. Thank you. People, here's one that hit me last week. People who send faxes when you don't have a fax machine. I kept getting a fax from some moron. My phone, it's a freaking fax tone on the other end. So I hang up. And then I tried to phone it to leave them, some colorful abuse to stop them doing it.
Of course that didn't
Of course
work.
you can't get it. All I'm getting is their fax machine.
Yeah, that's how fax machines work.
But some people had the line.
Oh,
switch, right?
That's right.
But annoying. Yeah, don't send me a fax. People who are determined to interrupt me when I ask not to be bothered. So, Ryan again. This is all Ryan podcast. God bless him. I love the guy, but it's just, he's so funny with this stuff. So, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, on private, Do Not Disturb. So he would just routinely phone me twice in a row to make sure he got through.
Because the way the phone works is if someone's in your contact list and you're on Do Not Disturb, it goes to voicemail the first call. Yeah. But if someone calls back within 30 seconds, then it will ring.
But he knew that, so he just rings it through each time. And I said, stop calling me when I just wonder what you're doing. Well, I'm working. We're in a call right. Oh, with who? Just keeps deconstructing it. Okay, this cannot become an all Ryan
No, it can't. But
Now-
it has, so it's too late. But you admit it. So.
People who are experts on everything. Now, I'm going to word this very carefully. Heather confirmed this last night. We have a family member, and I'm not even going to say which side of the family, whether it's by marriage or by DNA. There is a family member who has a friend or had a friend who worked at Ryerson University in Toronto and was in charge of hiring and firing some of the staff. And he had mentioned to this relative, oh, I'm looking for professors to come and teach. And this relative, who'd never had a job more complex than moving things around, okay,
Was qualified
and said,
in his own mind?
and said, you should hire me to teach for you. And the guy went, what would you teach? And he told us this story. So pleased
Anything.
himself. He said, anything. I'll teach anything at all. And he was serious. He was totally serious. My response would have been, okay, so we'll have Etruscan archaeology in the morning. We'll do astrophysics in the afternoon. And I guess on Friday.
biochemistry?
Biochemistry. And then you can teach calculus on Friday.
Quantum
Would that be
physics?
okay? Anything at all. I'll teach anything you want. Anything. Dick.
So what is the problem?
Dick. The problem is
What-
people think they're experts
How
in
could
fields
somebody
they haven't learned.
genuinely believe that
Because
they could? Is it
he or
Dunning-Kruger?
she is a lunatic.
lunatic combined with Dunning-Kruger?
No, it's not
I
even
suppose.
Dunning-Kruger.
It's way beyond
because there's
that.
no information there.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no information. Just the implication is, okay, you'll be our physics professor. Okay, I'll go home that night and cram in
But
physics.
it could
and
be
then come back.
Dunning-Kruger because you don't even understand that there's so much there. You think that the field is essentially tiny and you could learn it instantly.
Overnight.
No problem. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could teach everyone because I'm
Yeah.
so brilliant that this is clearly tiny relative to my capacity for intellect.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go, well, I mean, that would be hilarious to actually put the person in front of.
It would.
Yeah.
That'd make it happen. Yeah.
All right. What else have we got here?
Endless jokes. People who can't stop joking, can't be serious.
Do you know who said that?
Yeah.
Matt Lachey.
I knew it. So, endless joke. So, I called this the Gould-Walker syndrome. And the reason why is there's two people with those last names, and it was them who did it the most. The guy with the last name Gould, it wasn't Glenn Gould,
Okay.
was at his own wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Moyer was there and told me about this. And his wife was up, like very emotionally. She's the bride. And he's just throwing zingers and one-liners constantly from the head table, making everybody laugh while she's trying to get through this serious material about her
Yes.
family. And you see, always the punchline. Always
Yes,
the, cannot
stealing the-
frickin' stop.
Yeah.
Well, the other guy was the same. You can never have a serious conversation. They're always looking for the punchline. Now, nobody delivers better punchlines than I do. But I know
Try
when
having
to-
a
I know
serious
when to do it.
conversation with Mike Mandel.
Yeah,
Oh.
endless one-liners. What about people who say it is what it is?
Oh, okay. This is called a tautology.
Correct.
Right now, when people go, well, sometimes it is what it is. And I would say, well, sometimes my hair is my hair. It is meaningless. I came up with that as an absurd example.
Well, yeah, the idea of a tautology is it provides no new information. It's like saying all lawyers are lawyers.
Saturday is Saturday.
This comes out of the business community. It is what it is. I researched this, and this is designed purely to shut down further conversation. So if you start talking about, we could fix this because the business has been,
Well,
it is what
it
it is.
is.
In other words, stop talking
In
about
other
it.
words,
Quit.
shut up and deal with it. Yeah.
And my answer is always the same. And I don't get to say it as often because people seem to be moving away from the ludicrosity of it. When someone says to me, it is what it is, my response is, yes, everything is what it is, and everything isn't what it isn't. You've said nothing.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. I
Call
feel so much
people on
better.
their tautologies. It is what it is.
People who
There we
talk
go.
during movies. Oh, buddy. Heather and I went a few years ago to the Titanic 25th anniversary or whatever. Hadn't seen it since it came out. Might be nice. The audience is full of freaking idiots filming it with their cell phones, holding them up, all lights everywhere. I had to go and tell people to shut up about 5 times. Well, once only, but I did it really well. And just people can't, they're in their living room. So they just, oh yeah, that's a Lotus he's driving. That's a, oh, what, Dave, what car have you got? Just shut up, stop talking.
When I was a
What?
kid,
This better be good because you're laughing
No,
a
I'm
lot.
thinking of how I would handle that now. And in
nose
my
is
mind,
itching. What
okay,
would you
buddy,
do?
in my mind,
Yeah.
I show up to the movie with a bag of elastic bands. Because when I was a kid, I loved firing elastic bands.
You're the one-handed one?
Yeah, I could do the one. It's never, as, accurate, of course.
Or as powerful.
But it was always a fun, weapon, essentially.
It was.
I could fire elastic bands, and I could hit flies on tables or whatever the case may be. I was very good with elastic
That's
bands.
good, yeah.
So
and
it was
from
a lot
right
of
there
fun.
to an Alice.
Yeah. So imagine you're at the movie theater and these dicks are talking.
Yeah.
And you just take out an elastic band and it's dark, so no one sees. You take aim, wham, right in the back of the head every time they're talking.
Now, what we did in the movie theater when I was a kid, me and Wayne Gibbs, who were first hypnotized, we go up behind kids in front of us, and you flick the back of their ear like,
yeah,
really hard.
oh,
You
that
did
hurts.
That one?
Yeah,
they used to get
yeah.
mad, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Of course they get mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this thing, the elastic, did you ever do the bobby pin thing, make the bobby pin stingers?
No.
Oh, you love this.
Tell me this.
You get a
Okay.
hairpin. You take the little rubber ends off,
Yeah.
pull them off with your teeth.
Yeah.
You bend it a certain way, and what it does, it's almost like spring steel.
Yeah.
And it's sprung, folded on itself. And you just go up to someone, jab
Oh,
them
and
in
let
the
it go.
butt,
Oh.
and it goes, and it feels like it
I
feels
think
like
I
being
know what
stung
you
by a
mean.
bee.
Yeah, it winds up, and
Yeah.
and then it unlatches and whoosh.
Yeah, and it really, really hurts. I'll
Oh,
show you
man.
later. I'll do it on you.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I
people
bet
who
you
can't
will.
shut up at films. People who can't keep quiet at surprise parties. This happened. A friend of mine, his wife was her surprise party. She had a bunch of people over. This one guy, Rob, with his deep, booming voice, couldn't keep his frickin' mouth shut. And so the guy got the thing going. We were all hidden in the other room. He's saying, everyone stop talking. And Rob, and everyone goes, shh, shh. Then they shush the people who just shush. Shh, shh, shh.
Yeah.
They're all shushing. I'm saying, everybody stop talking. No, we got to stop. Just booming voice. She comes in, not surprised at all.
Next
Couldn't-
person who talks gets a bobby pin to the ass. There you go.
I wish you'd been there, buddy. Anyway, yeah, just
Oh,
shut
I've
up
got one.
talking when you
I've
shouldn't.
got one to throw into this. Okay, you're taking with your iPhone, and now photography is essentially free. There's no film to worry about, but you're taking a group picture. Any group of more than 3 people.
Okay.
Smile, look at the camera, focus, smile. There's always one dick who's looking over at his friend or is looking down. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a photo. You're in a picture. If you don't want to be in the picture,
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
Otherwise, look at the camera.
Yeah.
It's not complicated.
Sit there fiddling with your pouch.
It's
you know?
not
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah.
Look at the camera.
Totally.
Right?
That's good. That's very good. What about people who just can't shut up? My Aunt Marjorie, I told you her circle letters were like a very shallow
Oh,
crescent.
yeah.
And she was the one we sat there and she just said something like Clive. He were down at the football game. He got a knife wound by someone of unknown origin. He wouldn't have believed it. We said Mrs. Blowings last week. She came through. So just like that constantly. My Aunt Sheila was literally almost tearing her hair out trying to get away from her. They're both dead now, so it's okay to say, but God bless them, but she couldn't shut
Oh,
up.
man.
What about popcorn crunchers in films? Eating popcorn is one thing. But these dicks who wring every single crunch out of it they can, they don't go with their mouth shut. They use their mouth as a damned echo chamber. So they're going,
That's horrible.
Oh,
I'm thinking, what about people who go to movies despite not liking being around other people that
shut
much?
up. I don't go to movies anymore. I'm done with them after that Titanic one. Well, but what about people? Yeah, that's it. No more keynotes, no more shows,
No more-
and no
yeah.
going to movies.
Yeah, no more going to
Just-
movies.
Just
That's
working with
it.
you and having
Yeah,
a blast.
that's it.
So what about people who think Roger Moore was a good James Bond? Those people should be executed. They should put in front of a firing squad.
We're gonna rapid fire through these last ones.
Okay, guys who crush your hand to make a point.
Oh, or also, okay, and we're on camera here, so if you're listening to audio, I'll describe that. But yeah, the crushing of the hand during
Yeah.
a handshake, but also the dominant turning
turning it
the other person's hand down.
And I just come underneath it and pick up a one
It's
and
a-
peel it off. Yeah.
It's a dickish handshake.
It is like dominating. Yeah. And you can always pull them and put them in a whip. We
Yeah.
have numerous ways in our jiu-jitsu system to deal with that. I said it was Moyer's brother who were at his dad's funeral. We're sitting in a restaurant. He goes, looks at me, he crushes my hand.
Like he
thinks
tough
it's
guy.
funny.
And what did you do?
Well, I just picked up his
number
thumb with
one,
a number
right?
one grip and just peeled his hand off.
And he goes, ah, of course. Yeah,
idiots.
Roll him right onto the floor.
I love being underestimated. What a,
I like this
people
one.
in films who bring their noise with them. Now, this is a very interesting one.
It's
I
another
experienced
movie.
this.
It's
I know.
another movie.
I know. There's this one. I'm not going anywhere. This is an important one. These 2 guys, might have been 3, came into a theater. We're watching a movie. They come in late. So they've been loud, the 3 of them talking and everything in the rest. And they're used to being loud. They don't notice they're in a quiet place. And they're talking as they're coming in just as loud like this.
Oh, yeah.
And the guys who were standing up, taking his coat off and talking. And I said, will you shut beep, 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 up?
Yeah.
The guy turns around. He's quite a bit bigger than me. And
Yeah.
by that point, it's too late to back down. So I just looked at him with a blank expression, and then he shut up.
Yeah.
If I'd gone, oh, sorry, then he
Of
would have
course,
been,
he's bigger physically. Who
But just
cares? Yeah.
Don't bring your noise with you in a quiet space and be a dick.
It's dickish. So the rule of thumb there is be considerate. Be considerate.
Be considerate. Thank you. What about guys who love to tell women that they're Sigma males?
I don't know anyone like that.
Oh, buddy,
Yeah.
it's a funny thing. The rule is, if
I'm
you
a
go around
Sigma
telling
male.
people you're
Yeah.
Sigma male, it's a pretty
That
good
you're
sign
not.
that you're not.
Yeah.
You're a dick, which is a different thing altogether.
We should rename this podcast All Things Dickery. Yeah. Brain software and all things dickery. Hickory dickory dick.
We just came up with that.
This is our job.
We're at work right now.
Okay.
Okay, now, what about, we're almost at the last year. Here's a big one that kills me. People who think they could have beaten Hoist Gracie in the octagon.
Oh, yeah, because Matt Hughes beat him, right? So I could have beat him too, clearly.
No, they were saying that when he was still champion,
Yeah.
and when he had
I
7
could beat
wins
him.
without a loss against
Yeah.
every style. I know 2 guys who thought they could beat Hoist Gracie. I mean,
For real.
literally did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're out of their freaking minds. It's easy. They could beat Bruce Lee too, I'm sure. You know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think you'll like this one. Cheap people. You'll like
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Cheap people who mooch off others. And Moyer and I used to hang out with this guy. He was younger than us. We sort of encouraged him and helped him along. Every time he'd come over, we'd go for coffee and stuff like that. Then we started going to submarine sandwich shops. And we realized we were always paying.
He was never paying.
He had a freaking job. But he just assumed we'd bring him like a $10 submarine sandwich and pop and everything.
thanks.
And he's-
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You know, I like being generous. So does this guy. He's a very generous man. But I don't like it when it's just expected.
You know what you can do instantly to change that if you have that mentality?
Like throw a drink on them or something?
Start tipping higher. Every time you go to a restaurant, tip 5% more than you currently
You
do.
got me doing that.
Yeah, just tip more than you currently do.
I used to tip 80%. I'm up to
There you go.
95% now. Yeah.
It will reset your thinking around spending small amounts of money.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. That's great. And then you can start buying deodorant and soap and everything
Yes,
too.
exactly.
Stop
You can
washing with
afford
just water.
soap and perhaps text messaging plans instead of phoning people.
Yes,
with
exactly.
your
Yes.
unlimited
And
voice
there was
plan.
another aspect of that cheap people thing. We used to go out with Heather's brothers, and this happened a couple of times. It pissed me off. We'd all have a big dinner together. They go to settle a bill, and nobody would have enough money. And Heather would be nice. I'll put it on my credit card. Yeah, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and we'll
then you
give
got to
you the
chase
cash
up
or-
them, a couple of $100 from people. It's enough that it matters.
Or if you do I'll put it on my credit card and everyone else puts in cash, or everyone just put in cash, no one knows how to do math.
No, I know.
It seems like no one can actually add up what their portion of the bill is and then account for tax and tip.
Yeah.
So you end up having to chip in way more than your fair share. And we're moving on to
Personal space invaders.
not the video game from the 80s.
Yeah, maybe you want. I can't stand it.
Close
I'm an
talkers.
Enneagram 8. I like to keep you in leg range. I don't want you getting close unless you're, a good friend. That's not a problem. But if you're starting to get closer, I'm already starting to think of grappling with you and choking you because you're pissing me off when you're getting too close. And don't get that. And you're breathing on me and everything. I have
And
to
we
kill
don't even
you.
mean the confrontational kind
No,
where
just
people are
people-
pointing, because we know people who do the
Right,
pointing thing.
Edward T. Hall. This
Yeah.
is proxemics again. This is intimate range. You don't want people in you don't know. They can be in social range and friendship range or get the heck away from me range. But you can tell the story about Vegas, the guy.
Oh, it was a few years ago. I can't remember the guy's name, and it's irrelevant
probably
because we
good.
didn't say
Good
his
thing we
name
can't,
anyway.
yeah.
But he was this particular guy. I think he just wanted to feel included or feel part of the crowd, and we were
including him.
I mean, there was a point where he wanted to turn a conversation to a mini mentalism show, and he had people sit in chairs, and we're like humoring him for a while, and then we're just like, okay, this is getting boring. Back to normal conversation.
Six
It's
of
over.
Hearts.
He was a close talker. He would not end a conversation, for one. He would never have an exit strategy, and it was endless. But he also would be ridiculously close to you when talking. And so when you came by and joined into the conversation, and I introduced him to you, which was hilarious.
And he's just right
And
in my
then
face.
he's right in there. And so you happen to have a pocket knife
I
on
happen to
you.
have a tactical folding knife.
So you
yes.
just whipped it out and opened it and
One-handed.
said something. What did you say to him?
You might want to step back.
You might.
So I've got an inch from his left
It was
testicle,
so
the blade
funny.
out. It's like, get away from me. He did.
Oh, it was
he
hilarious.
did step back.
And interestingly, he did not come back to HynoThoughts Live, Mike. I'm not saying it's your fault.
I'm not saying I killed him. Now listen, we have a quick announcement, and then we're going to do our empowering question.
Do you
and one more
forgive him?
thing. I forgive him totally.
Do we
Chris.
champion him?
We champion him.
And was that an excursion?
It was somewhat of
We
an
have
excursion
worked
into
in
an
the three
irrelevant
words.
thing, but
There
yes.
we go.
But we have a special report, actually an advertisement coming up now.
Tonight at 8:11 p.m. on the Clay Bertrand Clay Shaw Network.
Hey, Dad, I got some great news for you.
Slow down, Paul Revere. There's no need to get all lathered up, no matter what it is.
Sorry, Dad. It's just we had special tests in school today, and I finished above average.
What kind of test, son?
It was called a Stanford Binet IQ test and indicated I'm above average. I scored 114 points and average is 100.
Oh, take it down a notch, Marilyn Vosavon. What's so great about 114?
It means I'm more likely to get a good job than the kids who got lower scores. It'll help me pursue a good future, Dad.
A good future? How would you know that, Nostradamus? Can you see the future? Do you know what the Dow Jones is going to do next week?
No, I guess I don't know, Dad.
Then put your crystal ball away, Gene Dixon. It sounds like someone's getting way too big for his britches. Remember, you're still just Danny.
Yeah, I know, Dad.
You're Still Just Danny. Watch the Season 14 premiere tonight, only available on the Umbrella Man Network. And we're back, and this is the final point of the
People
podcast.
who tell me what I want or don't want.
Well, you should make this the last point, Mike.
You don't want to do that. You don't. Wait a minute. You don't know what I want to do or don't want to. Someone said to me once.
Oh, you don't want to go there.
Oh yeah, get that one all the time. And the other one, well, not all the time. The other one was actually, you don't want to make me mad. You do not want to make me mad. I couldn't care less if I make you
Maybe
mad.
I
What,
do
you going
wanna
to go
make
nuts
you
with an
mad.
axe or a machine gun or something? Yeah, maybe I do want to make you mad, you freaking idiot.
I think that's a great response, though. You don't want to. Well, maybe I do.
Which would do it immediately.
Yeah.
Hey, give us the empowering question, buddy.
All right, here we go. Podcast 226, empowering question, because we're wrapping it up. Who are the idiots who've held you back in life? And what are the ways that you'll change and grow so that you'll prove to all the annoying people out there that you're not still just Danny, not at all, and you never freaking were?
Just fantastic. You got to love it.
All right.
I have something interesting to tell you, Chris.
Uh-oh.
And it's called The Man with the Strange Gifts.
Okay, it sounds like a MetaFive,
Well,
which
the
is one better
interesting
than
thing is,
Meta4.
we don't have time to do it today. So I'm
Uh-oh.
going to save The Man with the Strange Gifts for next time, boys and girls.
Thanks again.
And
Good night.